This is The Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good morning, Tuscaloosa. Good morning, Tuscaloosa, Internet World, West Alabama. How we doing today on a Friday? It's the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central, BamaCentral.com. We're live in the Derry Daniel State Farm Studios. We hope you guys are doing well. Getting ready for a big old weekend ahead of you. We're going to talk about a lot of things today in the Derry Daniel State Farm Studios. We're live on the Bama Central YouTube channel, on the Bama Central Facebook page. You're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can find the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. Call Derek for all of your insurance needs at 205-758-3391. We're going to have a lot of fun today with Theo Fernandez and Katie Windham talking about Alabama basketball's game against Auburn tomorrow. We're going to get a little softball discussion going as the Crimson Tide is opening up SEC play this weekend. We will highlight and celebrate a basketball win last night and, of course, an off-court win for the men's team as well yesterday, a 5-star committing to the Crimson Tide. So lots to get into today on today's program. We invite you to jump in and join us on the comments section at Bama Central, at Joe Gaither 6, at Theo Fernandez _. You can leave us a comment, question, query, or complaint, or you can leave us a voicemail at 205-462-7340, extension 800. Of a lot of fun today. And the program, of course, is brought to you by Purple Turtle Roofing. Visit them online today at roofturtle.com for all of their products and services. You can see what they can do for your metal roof, for your shingle roof. They'll come out and give you a free roof inspection today. Visit them online and set that up at roofturtle.com. As we said, we're hanging out with Theo Fernandez. We're going to be hanging out with Katie Windham. You can follow Theo at Theo Fernandez _. Theo, real quick before we get Katie involved into the program, County High Wildcats.
Wildcat way.
Finalists, right? Tell us just 1 minute what happened yesterday with the Wildcats.
Thrilling basketball game, 75-70 in overtime against Dothan. 10-point comeback late in the third quarter to tie the game with a just 6 shot with under a minute, then blocked a potential game winner. Just what a game for those guys. Kurt Weeks and the Wildcats, I mean, they are looking for their first state title since 1960.
Wow.
And it would be like they had a crazy run to win baseball last year, and now they could do this in basketball against Hoover on Saturday. It's been a special season there already. It's going to be a big-time game Saturday. I have a package that I just posted out on Twitter. If you guys want to learn more about the team, it's been a fun season. It's been a good ride for Kurt Weeks.
Well, looks like it's got one more game left on Saturday. We'll see if they can upset the Hoover Bucks and call themselves 7A state champions. We'll say good luck to the County High Wildcats. But we're not here to talk about County High. We're here to talk about Alabama athletics with our friend Katie Windham. You can follow Katie Windham at Katie Windham _, the lead writer for BamaCentral.com. And oh my gosh, she has so many balls in the air that she is juggling right now. Softball, gymnastics, men's basketball, little women's basketball. All kinds of things. Spring football on Sunday. So goodness gracious, Katie Windham, how do you do it and how are you this morning? Thank you for your time.
I'm doing good, guys. Yeah, I think people think sometimes that football, they just assume that that's our busiest time of the year just because it's the biggest sport. But football is the most regimented schedule in the fall. They play one game a week. It's the same time. Their media schedule is the same time every week. So, yeah, this is definitely the busiest time of the year. And I'm just going to go ahead and say I'd say there's a 90% chance my connection cuts out today because it's been doing that all week, and it does on StreamYard a lot anyway. So just listeners, be prepared for that. But I'm doing well. And, yeah, a lot going on for Alabama right now. A lot of good stuff going on for Alabama right now.
Absolutely. And Theo, that's why we have Theo here. If your internet connection has a little problem, I can just lean on Theo just a little bit. You said a lot of good things. Let's start real quick with last night's victory. Alabama basketball beats Tennessee 76-64. That's 2 wins in a row in the SEC tournament, now into the quarterfinals. So starting as the 11th seed and now has made it all the way to Friday. They're going to be taking on Texas tonight at 7:30. Katie Windham, you tweeted it. about 40 wins in a row for Tennessee in this rivalry before Christy Curry arrived in Tuscaloosa, and now Christy Curry is kind of biting back into that record a little bit and gets another win over Tennessee. Did you watch? Theo was watching it at the WVUA last night. I watched about 2.5 quarters, and once I realized, okay, this thing is put to bed. Alabama's going to win. I turned it off and put on my evening programming to wind down. Katie, what do you think? Ace Austin and the ladies getting it done.
Yeah, I was at community group for the first part of the game, but got home and watched the second half. And so I didn't see the beginning, but they led wire to wire, just really kind of a dominant performance against Tennessee. And even though Alabama was the 11th seed and Tennessee was the 6th, I'm pretty sure just one game separated them in the standings. I'm pretty sure Tennessee was 8-8 and Alabama was 7-9. And the whole middle of the SEC was like very jumbled. If one game would have gone different for Alabama, if they would have beaten Auburn on the road like they should have, they would have been 8-8. They would have been seeded higher. If they would have beaten Auburn and A&M, they could have even, had the double bye potentially. So there really wasn't necessarily that much separating Tennessee and Alabama. I don't know how much y'all get any women's basketball tweets sprinkled in your feed on Twitter, but Tennessee women's basketball program has kind of been in, I don't want to say shambles, but shambles by their fan standards the last couple of weeks. There's just been a lot of drama surrounding that team. So I thought there was going to be a pretty good chance that Alabama was going to pull that out. And generally, Christy Curry's teams have done pretty well in the SEC tournament, besides last year when they really needed to just win one game to secure a top 4 NCAA seed and weren't able to do that. But generally, they've made some runs. Like they talked about, I saw the stat over Twitter last night that was the first second time ever, first time since 2017 that Tennessee had lost their first game in the SEC tournament. And that game was also, I believe, to Alabama, and that team kind of made a run. So now that I say that, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's right. I know she has made some runs in the SEC before with teams that weren't very good. This is a pretty good team. They've been ranked for most of the year. They are an NCAA tournament team. And so it was good for them to continue that. And then they play Texas today, which that was their last regular season game. It was a pretty close game in Coleman. I don't know if they'll be able to replicate that, but I think that they could beat this Texas team. Do I think they have a chance of winning the SEC tournament title? If that means they have to beat South Carolina, probably not, especially since it's in Greenville, South Carolina. But, I don't think that's necessarily the expectation for this team, even though I think the players, either on the postgame set on SEC Network or when I was reading through the transcript of their postgame last night, so they talked about, their goal is to win the SEC tournament, which, every team says that pretty much. But, you never know. It is March. This is March.
This is March, and it does get crazy. Theo, you were talking about it before the week kind of got going, that the ladies needed to have a strong performance in order to lock up that six-line seed in the NCAA tournament. Last night, Tamia Scott, 20 points. Jessica Timmons, 23 points. Essence Cody with 10 points of her own. I know you were working at WVUA, but it was on in the corner of your eyeball. What do you think?
No, I thought it was
always good to beat Tennessee.
And I'm always... with this team and this program, you're always waiting. Okay, you've got a lead. Are you going to hang on to it? And hey, Alabama did close very well. It was some impressive performance to watch. I know Tennessee, they've lost 7 straight now, but I think I'd have to imagine this locks up the 6th seed for you. Texas, we saw Alabama kind of compete at home, kind of competitive game. You didn't get embarrassed. I don't know what this will look like tomorrow in what'll be a full neutral site, right? Neither team will really have any fans, or I guess today actually. Now we'll see. I think Alabama's done what it needed to do, though.
No, there we go. 7:30 tonight on SEC Network. So if you are looking for some Friday evening programming, you can check that out on SEC Network. But Katie, really why we wanted to have you on was the big merge of all of your sports. Softball starting SEC play this weekend, spring football starting back, and Alabama playing Auburn tomorrow in the Iron Bowl. So dealer's choice. Those are the 3 areas I want to take you into. What do you think you want to get started with first? Softball with SEC play, spring football, or the Iron Bowl of basketball tomorrow night in Coleman Coliseum?
We can keep rolling with basketball talk a little bit.
There we go. So Alabama's taking on Auburn tomorrow at 7:30 and was on an 8-game winning streak. Lost to Georgia on Tuesday. You were there. You drove over to Athens. We appreciate you doing that for BamaCentral.com. Make sure you follow Katie Windham at Katie Windham _. What did you make of the performance in Athens? It was just a mixture of kind of emotions or feelings for myself. And then obviously you have a huge game tomorrow night with tournament seeding on the line, 2 versus 3 seed. Obviously, you'll know what you need to do before the game because Arkansas and Missouri are playing at 11 a.m. But big game tomorrow night in the finale. Auburn playing for its tournament live. Alabama starting to go up against teams, starting with really Georgia and going into tomorrow night's Auburn game there, where every opponent from here on out is going to be pretty desperate to win because everybody's trying to keep their seasons alive at this point. Just kind of where are you at with this basketball team with the rivalry game coming in tomorrow night?
I think they'll be motivated for this one. I think talking to Latrell Wrightsell after the game on Tuesday, he said Nate was definitely going to let them know and film what they did wrong. And I think there's plenty of things on his list for them to improve for this game. And I don't think they'll need a ton of motivation to get up for it. I would expect this will probably be the best crowd we've seen in Coleman all year. It's the chance to end Auburn's NCAA tournament chances. Probably, you never know with bracketology, but it probably is. It's your chance to secure a 2 seed. If you want any chance at a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament, you've got to win this game and then win some in Nashville next week. So, yeah, I think this team what Nate really emphasized after the game on Tuesday was some guys don't understand yet what it takes to win. And it's not that they don't have the talent or skill. I think there's areas of the team that y'all talked about. I listened to y'all show on Wednesday and yesterday. I think there's areas of the team that just are what they are. Like the front court is what it is. Like that's not going to change. You could say you're not going to get like a roster addition, like but you did have that earlier this year. That's not going to happen again. You're not just magically going to get a 7-foot guy that comes in and solves all your problems. But they've been able to work around it and finish top 4 in the SEC with what they've had. So, they have their issues, but they also have a lot of talent, and they've showed a lot of grit at times this year. Maybe not as much on Tuesday. Nate and Latrell both kind of talked about they didn't have the fight they should have, but I think they will on Saturday. And then I don't know. This has been a different Alabama basketball team. I can't remember if it was you, Joe, when I was listening earlier this week, said something about it being a roller coaster season. And really, for the most part, I feel like this hasn't been, besides like off the court, has been more of the roller coaster, I feel like, but actually really mild compared to some of the things we've seen off the court. And while we've covered Alabama basketball the last couple of years, but I mean, really, it was a little rough at the beginning, and then they had a long stretch of good. And what's been different about this year is, yes, they are top 4 in the SEC, but it's kind of what Nate said at the press conference before Georgia of like, this team is not ranked super highly. They've been good. They've had this win streak, but nationally, they're not necessarily viewed as some huge threat. And so even that Final Four team a couple years ago, even though they struggled at the end, they had a lot of eyes on them at times. And this team hasn't as much, and I think part of that is the SEC not being as good overall. But I don't know. I think that this team definitely has a March run in them. I know after talking to Latrell on Tuesday, this is his last run as a senior. He definitely wants to make one, but a lot of it will obviously depend on the draw. And I'm getting a little ahead of myself there. But back to Auburn, I think this team's going to come out pretty motivated tomorrow.
All right, Katie, on to something you said there. The team's not going to change. At this stage in the season, is there anything out of any area, whether it's the rebounding, anything, where maybe we haven't seen the final product yet, or maybe we can still see something different, or are we just kind of set in stone at this point, in your opinion?
Well, yeah. I mean, saying that things aren't going to change, I don't necessarily mean that things can't improve. I just mean like what your roster situation is what it is. But I mean, as crazy as it is, like Noah Williamson did have that performance against Kentucky. Like it did happen. I'm not even joking or trying to be like down him. Like I really don't know if since that game he scored as many combined points in the 16 games since then that he did in that one game. Because so many games he ends with nothing, no points is what I mean by nothing, not literally nothing. But that did happen. So like, does he have a random game in him in March where he just like turns it on again? Like, because Kentucky has on paper a really talented roster. They spent a lot of money on it, and he did that against them. I think the rebounding, because I think a lot of the guys it is mental. I think maybe if some of these guys can continue to get healthier, like a Bull Bowen, because I think he's a guy that's you could say probably had a roller coaster season, because there's been times where Nate has been like super hard on him. And then there's been times where Nate has been like super high on him of like, wow, he's doing everything we want him to do. And then I don't think he was super happy with him on Tuesday. So I think he's a guy that can kind of be an X factor if he locks them for this postseason, if he's going up and getting rebounds for you, if he's adding another scoring threat that can make.
That's okay. As Katie's reconnected. As Katie's reconnected. There she is right there. All right. So Katie, to keep the stat in your pocket, the one you just threw out there, Noah Williamson has scored 4 points. 4 total points since that 10-point performance against Kentucky. He scored 2 points against Texas, 2 against Texas, 1 against South Carolina, and 1 against LSU. So big job, Noah Williamson. 4 total points since that 10-point game against the Kentucky Wildcats.
Wow. So that's, I mean, I said I didn't think it was going to be 10 combined, and I didn't realize it was probably that low, but I mean, that makes sense, because it really is. Most games you look at the box score after and it's 0, obviously, based on what you just said.
18 total rebounds since that game as well. They had 4 rebounds against the Wildcats. He's had 18 rebounds since then.
More fouls than points on the season.
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, Katie, what is the ceiling for this team? I mean, we were talking about it a little bit on the staff meeting yesterday. Whether you beat Auburn or not, you're in the top 4 seeds of the SEC. You're playing on Friday. It just changes opponents, whatever. So you're playing on Friday. And you're probably looking at, because of the Georgia loss, a 4 line in the NCAA tournament. You're not going to be able to get up to the 3 line unless you probably can beat Florida in the SEC tournament final on Sunday, which, who knows? But you're probably looking at a 4 line, and you're in the NCAA tournament. So what do you think that this team can do as you're looking at the month of March?
Not to sound like
she didn't want to even say it.
Yeah.
So Theo, back to you. You one
cliffhanger.
more regular season game. Is Alabama going to get out of the Sweet 16? I think they get to the Sweet 16. I think they will. I think they'll get to the Sweet 16.
I think I'm asked this question about 5 times a week now, between this show, between people who've seen my Twitter stuff like at
2
work.
years ago. What?
Oh, we got her back.
Oh, no, keep going.
I hear it all the time, and I have not changed my stance until I see the draw. I am not going to update that stance, and I will continue to say that, Alabama is not going to make the Sweet 16.
So Joe Gaither Show Bracket Challenge is coming soon. Everybody can be looking for the links. You're going to have them out in the round of 32.
It depends on the draw, man. Like I've said, like, for example, I saw one like last week where Alabama's drawn up against North Carolina in the second round.
Ooh, that's dangerous.
Easiest. Yeah, Alabama, you will not be playing past the first weekend. Like, it depends so heavily, because look, I see a team that goes on an 8-game SEC winning streak and has that kind of game against Arkansas and shows the resiliency against Tennessee. And you've seen all the good things this team has done at times this season. There is a draw where, oh man, Alabama, congrats, you're back to the Final Four. The more likely case is you are not playing past the first weekend. Sorry to just sound like a broken record here, but I'm going to continue to reiterate that take basically no matter what until we get the bracket.
I think that, you should be standing firm, because we don't have really updated information until we get the bracket. Katie, what do you think the ceiling is for this team in March?
I'm going to be contrarian to Theo, and I think they will get out of the first weekend. Now, I don't know if they'll get past the Sweet 16. I think depending on the matchups, they definitely can. But I think just looking at, based on where they'll be seated and the talent level of who you'll probably be playing in that second game, I think they will. I guess under Nate, they've never had a round of 32 exit. It's always either been, in 2022, it was the first round, and then every other year they've made it at least to the Sweet 16. Is that right?
I believe so. They lost to Notre Dame in that first round. Yeah, I believe so.
What was that guy's name that cooked them? The Notre Dame guy. Anyway, that's irrelevant. But and I don't think Nate Oates really ever loved that team. I think that team never really bought into what he was trying to sell about what it takes to be successful to play
Cormac
basketball.
Ryan.
Yeah, it was something like that.
The player, who hit all those threes.
Yeah, Cormac Ryan.
Yeah. I was going to say Cormac, but then I was like, is that too stereotypical, like Irish? But
no, you're dead on. And I agree with you. Nate was, from my perspective, very frustrated with that team all year long.
Yeah. And so I don't think this team's the case. So I think they'll at least lock in for 2 games / should be favored in their first 2 rounds and should probably beat whoever they face. And I think the ceiling for this team is probably another Final Four. Do I think am I saying that that's what I'm predicting for this team? Am I saying that's what's likely? No, but I do think that's the ceiling for this team if they get it all together. But the problem is, like, if you face a team with some dominant bigs, like that's not going to be a good matchup for you.
Yep. Up a creek without a paddle. If you're playing a team with two quality bigs, I think back to that Purdue game and how close Alabama was, but like even on the scoreboard being so close, it felt like you just got dominated in that game because of the offensive rebounding issue or defensive rebounding issues, offensive for them, second chance points. And then you really just didn't have any answer for their second big. You were able to slow down one of them, but then what was it? Taylor Coffin-Wren absolutely dominating again. So any team with 2 bigs is going to be a huge, huge problem. Last thing on the basketball front, I know you were paying attention to it yesterday, Theo, but Jackson Richardson commits to the Crimson Tide, bringing Alabama up to 3 commits in his class of 2026. You have, two have signed the letter of intent and 1 is committed. Yeah, so Caden Samuels and Terrace Bowie have already signed. Jackson Richardson is now committed, and Jackson Richardson is the son of Jason Richardson, small forward, 4-star, 5-star, depends on what you want to look at. But he is one of the better players in the class of 2026, 21st in the country, ranked 21st in the country by 24/7 Sports, 66205. You get a legacy coming to Tuscaloosa, Theo. Add Caleb Holt and bring back what you can bring back, and whew, you're getting me excited. Jackson Richardson, did you look at
Yes.
at him just a little bit?
First of all, I don't think that we're going to see Caleb Holt in Tuscaloosa.
No.
I think that's part of the move to add Richardson, Richardson is a prospect that you should be just about as excited about as Holt. I mean, this guy is phenomenal. First of all, I think the big thing here is you've added 3 recruits who are all 6'6". You are adding that modern archetype of player, right? We lost Katie again there.
That's like okay.
Nate Oates running this NBA system, right? You see so many of these NBA teams just, okay, how many of these 6'6", 6'7" wings can we add that can facilitate, that can lead an offense, that can create shots? And yes, there's a lot of flawed things with some of those NBA offenses, but the success that they have had and the just pure shot creation ability is unreal on those types of teams. And you suffer in the half-court offense without a doubt. Alabama still obviously has Aiden Holloway to lead there. I think that Nate Oates is absolutely trying to build something specific with these moves being deliberate. And I also think these guys are like, look, I think everyone thought that Richardson would commit to Creighton. If you're Richardson, right, and you're sitting and you watch Amari Allen go out and have this kind of season, how do you justify going anywhere else, right? And I think, look, we know that not every Nate Oates player is going to the NBA, right? That's kind of one of the common, not misconceptions, but one of the things that people kind of exaggerate sometimes. For these wings, right? Absolutely, Nate Oates' system benefits you in just about every way. I think all 3 of these guys will, depending on who is the most ready year one, will put themselves in a position to just follow, the Amari Allen, Brandon Miller blueprint. Go play a year, put up big time numbers, and congrats, you're a lottery pick.
it's a little hard to tell with this baseline camera on this video that I've got from Made Hoops on YouTube, but he does look super athletic, very long, very athletic, slash into the basket, catching alley-oops and slamming it home. Not a whole lot of shooting on this video, but you got to imagine that NATO isn't recruiting anybody that cannot shoot. So you bring in a pretty nice little recruit in Jackson Richardson yesterday. And yes, Everett, you do need to tune in more. You tell me, Everett, that you wanted more guests. You wanted more of Owen. You wanted more of Hunter. You wanted more of Katie. And so we're getting more of Katie. Katie's with us today to talk about all kinds of sports. We've already talked a little bit about basketball. Katie, can we transition you to softball? Because those ladies are still smacking the cover off the ball, sending the softball over fences left and right. But the competition steps up this week. We had you on after the first weekend, and then that kind of set up the Florida State series a little bit in the next couple of weeks of minor opponents. But now Alabama is opening up SEC play. What have you seen from the ladies in non-conference now that non-conference play is over? Take us from that first weekend all the way up to SEC play this weekend.
Yeah, after that first weekend, there was a lot of hype, but it was, this isn't necessarily the highest level of competition. We'll see. And really throughout their whole non-conference slate outside of those Florida State games, it hasn't been super tough. But I think that's probably what this team needed with young pitchers. You didn't know what you were going to have. And so kind of the opportunity to settle into the season. And the pitching has been fantastic. Like, they have one of the best team ERAs in the country. I think they've given up 12 earned runs in 20 games, which is just insane no matter who you're playing, especially when you've pitched. I mean, they've been pitching their whole staff, and no disrespect to the people that are kind of at the end of the rotation, but they're not as talented. And so even when you're going against the, St. Thomas's of the world, who actually is a pretty respectable mid-major, they can still score runs. But the Alabama pitching staff has just been lights out, especially Big Moten and Jocelyn Brisky, which I think is a super encouraging sign heading into SEC play. And I think those will kind of be the two that they're going to count on. Maybe Caitlin Palazzi will get some starts, but I think this weekend it'll probably be Brisky and Moten getting, I think Brisky will probably start twice, even though now with the doubleheader, we'll kind of see what they decide to do or how the games shake out. But the pitching's been great. And then the hitting's continued to be really good, not at the same power levels as schools like Oklahoma and UCLA, but no one else is really kind of in that same stratosphere. But by Alabama standards, have been excellent. Alabama softball put out a graphic, I think on Wednesday, of kind of their historical comparisons with how they've started at the plate and in the circle compared to past seasons, and the numbers don't lie. And so no matter the competition, it's been really good. It's been really encouraging, but it will be key to see how it transitions over to SEC play. Now, the team they're playing this weekend, we talked at the beginning of the show about the lopsided series history between Alabama and Tennessee in women's basketball. It's even worse between Alabama and Ole Miss in softball. I think when I was looking at it yesterday, Alabama leads the series like 62-7 or something like that. So Ole Miss has not beaten Alabama very often. They've historically been not great. Alabama's historically been really good at softball. That's changed a little bit. They're coming off a World Series run last year, I believe the first in their program history. But they have not had a great season so far, Ole Miss. So this is a series, to me, that really is going to show us, is this Alabama team going to be a legit contender? Because in my opinion, and I would say they're not going to say this before the series, but I think they would agree that this is a series they should sweep. Even though it's on the road, the doubleheader, they're used to that. They're used to playing two games back to back. If they're going to be a legit contender in the SEC, a top 8 seed this year, a top 8 team this year, then this is a series you pretty much need to go on the road and sweep.
Yeah, so big weekend for Alabama. Doubleheader today, starting at, I think, 3 o'clock, and then you're going to have the second one right after that, and you'll have the third game on Sunday. So you're probably avoiding weather, Saturday weather. Is that what I'm guessing?
Yeah, that's what they said. I did not check the forecast in Oxford, but it must be something pretty bad they're anticipating on Saturday to go ahead and preemptively do this.
Yeah, perfect. So you'll be able to see it on 3 o'clock today on SEC Network Plus. You'll be able to keep up with all the action from BamaCentral.com, Katie Windham _ on the Twitter machine as well, and maybe Henry O'Scalar. Your boy Henry been covering some softball this year, Theo.
Has been. He's been enjoying those performances over at the Rhodes House.
What are you looking for these ladies? What's more important this weekend? Good pitching or good hitting?
I think the hitting at the SEC level, almost from my understanding of it, I mean, I have very little reason to doubt that these pitchers can hang. I guess directing a question
Please,
to you,
yeah.
Katie. So you talk about, like, with baseball, right? Miles Upchurch, he's come out, he's had some great starts freshman year, and everyone's kind of the thing that people talk about half serious, half jokingly is like, oh yeah, we've got to wait for him to go get shelled by an SEC team, and then he can start really executing. Does that exist for the freshman pitchers in softball where, okay, Vic Moten's probably going to have a couple rough outings against real SEC bats, or could she just continue to be lights out?
I mean, I doubt she's going to continue to be as dominant as she's been, but like you have seen plenty of pitchers in Alabama softball history. I mean, Jocelyn Brisky's a freshman, was dependent on a ton. I mean, really,
She was just getting rolling.
Yeah, she was about to go off on a nice little run there, and I was curious to hear what she was going to say on that one. Vic Moten has been lights out for Alabama. I mean, she got named SEC Pitcher of the Week a couple weeks ago. I think she's given up maybe 2 runs on the season.
But wasn't Palazzi National Freshman of the Week, co-national?
Yeah, Palazzi threw the perfect game against Elon, which, look, that is a lower end mid-major. But with that being said, I mean, a perfect game is 21 up, 21 down is special, no matter how you slice it, right? So she did that. I think she had a rough outing the next week around against Dartmouth, let in a couple runs, but like, she's another freshman who just has potential, you know? Like, I don't know. I think she's going to be almost entirely out of the bullpen in SEC play. I don't think we're going to see her start, but to my understanding, she is the top arm out of that pen, right? The top reliever. So, all right.
Yeah, Katie was talking about freshman pitching where you just got rolling. You were talking about Jocelyn Brisky, and it cut you off.
Yeah, sorry. Alabama has relied on freshmen in the circle before, and I don't think it's going to be a case of, I mean, could she have a game where somebody just crushes her? Sure. But I don't think that's kind of the expectation that she's going to have to go through it. I think we saw when she pitched against Florida State, kind of the fire she had and how well she shut down that lineup. And that's a really talented team. It's a top 10 team that I think she has what it takes. And I think it was on Gray and Tom Out of the Box, their podcast this week. They had on, I think it was, Danielle Laurie, the old Washington pitcher who won a national championship for Washington. And she was saying she's good friends with somebody on the Florida State staff who said she had never really seen, like, there was one other pitcher, now I can't remember who she was comparing her to, but a freshman that could throw it that hard with that much spin. And she was talking about Vic Moten. So yeah, I think she has the good stuff in the circle that Alabama's going to be able to rely on in SEC play.
So Brisky Friday, Moten Saturday, back to Brisky on Sunday. Is that kind of the flow?
I asked Murph on Wednesday I knew he probably wasn't going to tell me. It's so funny how in baseball they literally like tweet out, here's who your starters, and like I could ask Murph, gun to his head, and like he would not tell me. But I think it'll probably be. I was thinking going into the weekend, Brisky, Moten, Brisky. I think this, like I said, because I think this is a sweepable series. I think this is a series you probably could pitch somebody else, but I think because they probably want it to be Brisky, Moten, Brisky going forward, I think they probably want to like test that out this weekend. And Murph had told me heading into last week at the Crimson Classic that they wanted Brisky was off her pitch count. They wanted her to either do a Friday, Sunday or Friday, Saturday, just because she had not done that yet. And she did do Friday, Saturday last weekend, I believe. So and softball players are used to pitching back-to-back days, back-to-back games. So I think that'll be the rotation. We'll see what it ends up being. If they like just kill Ole Miss in this doubleheader, maybe somebody else gets a start on Sunday. But yeah, that's my prediction.
Everett, you comment, I would like to hear y'all's thoughts on women's basketball, where it stands. Everett, if you go to the very beginning of the program, you can do it on Apple Podcast, Amazon, Spotify, or you can roll back the scroll on the Facebook or on the YouTube, and you can see we opened the show with Alabama's win over Tennessee last night in their game against Texas tonight, and kind of gave our thoughts on Alabama women's basketball. I appreciate your comment right there, sir. But you go back to the very beginning, and that's where we talked about that. So, Katie, I asked Theo, more important for this weekend for Alabama softball, good pitching or good hitting? What do you say?
I think good pitching always beats good hitting, but I think I want to see the offense continue to do well in SEC play because Lex Papillo leads the teams in home runs right now. Last year, she did not have a home run in SEC play. So, and this is probably a pitching staff. Ole Miss has a couple good pitchers, but one that you're going to be able to hit off of easier than a team like Tennessee, who's Like, I think the only team that has statistically has been better pitching wise than Alabama has Carlin Pickens, probably one of the best pitchers in the country alongside Najee Kennedy at Texas Tech. So I think good pitching beats good hitting, but I do want to see the bats this weekend do something, make a statement, show that it hasn't been a fluke, and continue hitting the ball well.
Absolutely. So we're hanging out with Katie Windham, Bama Central's lead writer. Should be covering really every sport under the sun at the capstone. You got any other softball questions or comments? I got one thing for gymnastics, and then I want to move to football.
Yeah, one more quick thing on softball, just for people who are, obviously most people are kind of following along a little more, I guess, casually at this point in the season, right? What's the biggest thing they need to know about just where the team's at right now and where you think the team can go?
I think people need to, I can understand why if people have kind of tuned out from softball the last couple of years, because it has not been a super fun product to watch most of the time, just because the offensive struggles have been so bad. But I think people need to know that this offense is fun to watch. They're a top 10 team in the nation. Most polls actually have them top 5. I think if they sweep this weekend, they'll probably officially be top 5, but who knows? Not that polls really matter. It's really RPI and seeding, but fans like to hear about the polls. But this is a top 10 team nationally. It's, football didn't finish top 10 this year. Basketball is not top 10 right now. Softball is a top 10 team in the nation. Gymnastics is a top 5 team in the nation. So you have really exciting Alabama teams to go support right now to watch. And I think this team, based on how this season has started, it will be a real disappointment if they don't end up with the Women's College World Series, which they end up there more times than not. They've ended up there the last couple of years sometimes, even when they don't necessarily have great teams. But I think this is a really good team, and I think that this season will end in OKC, little pre-SEC. Mild take, not super hot take, but mild take.
They've looked really, really good so far. Theo, my only comment to that is better be in front of your TV when Saylin Hawkins is up to bat. Something's going to happen.
Yeah, she's an electrifying player. And the defense, she's very good. Right? I've seen her turn some fun plays, in short.
So, Katie, let's turn our attention real quick to gymnastics. Not too long right here, but that's also one of the many sports that you cover. The gymnastics program has 3 more dual meets left in the season before SEC tournament, SEC championship meet, however you want to label that. You got Kentucky tonight. You have Illinois on Sunday. So kind of a big packed in weekend for Alabama. And then you end the year next Friday against Georgia. I know a lot of people have, like the softball, have been a little out on the gymnastics over the last couple of seasons because they haven't been as electric or as impressive. But they're top 5 in the country right now. Number 3, according to the people that rank the programs. Number 3 in the country, have been really successful. Just kind of what has been your overall assessment of this gymnastics team as their season is about to come to a close?
Yeah, they've just been really consistent all year long. They've scored their first meet of the year. I think they scored a 197.475, and every meet since then they've scored a 197. And so gymnastics rankings are different than others in that, like, it's literally based on their score. So there is no subjectivity to it, like there is in basically every other poll. Like, it's formulaic. They are the 3rd best team in the country and have been pretty much all year, which means they're probably going to be, I think they will definitely be disappointed if they're not competing in the Final 4 on the floor at the end of this season, which they have not done since the format switch from 6 to 4 in 2017. I think I can't remember when the format switched, maybe 2019, but I think 2017 was the last night that Alabama was in the final night of competition, which is crazy because they used to be there every year. Now it's been almost a decade. And so I think that's definitely a goal for this team. They actually talked about it a couple weeks ago. And they have the talent to do it. Their freshman, Azarea Akbar, has been phenomenal. Chloe LeCourcier is number 1 in the country on bars. She's a junior. They've been an exciting team to watch and super consistent. And that's why they're number 3, is because they haven't had that clunker meet where they just have a bunch of falls and they end up with a 196 something. They've been knocking on the door of 198 the last couple of weeks. I think with a home meet tonight, we'll see if they can kind of cross that threshold. That would be exciting. They can kind of put some things together, get some landings on vault, which I know gymnastics is it's kind of a sport where if you don't know what's going on, you don't know, but it's also one to just it's fun to just watch them. They're so incredibly talented, so strong, just the amount of strength they have to have in their cores to even do things on even bars, to twist their body that many times on floor is incredible. So it's an entertaining sport.
I'd break my ankle 10 times over on the balance beam.
Yeah, it's crazy. The flips they do on a 4-inch beam, 4-inch wide, and they're doing a triple series backwards on it. It's crazy. But yeah, I think that Ashley Johnson has finally gotten in her 4th year kind of turned into gotten the program in the direction that she really wants it to be.
All right, so get out to see Alabama gymnastics. You've got 2 more opportunities. Alabama's taking on Kentucky tonight in Coleman Coliseum and Georgia next Friday in Coleman Coliseum before SEC championships out in Oklahoma and then NCAA regionals and all that stuff in various different sites. Theo, I'm going to turn us to football here in just a minute. Is that all right?
That sounds great.
But we've covered a lot of different sports already this morning on the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. We've talked women's basketball. We've talked men's basketball. We've talked gymnastics. We've talked softball. If you like the women's sports coverage, make sure that you're following and subscribe to Crimson Flame. Katie Windham does a weekly podcast covering the illustrious women's athletics programs over at the Capstone. All kinds of great women's teams, women's basketball. You've got women's golf. You've got gymnastics. You got track and field. All kinds of women's athletics over there that are excelling. You can find all the information on Crimson Flame. Find it on Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Spotify. Watch it on the Bama Central YouTube channel. Katie Windham is covering all things women's athletics under Crimson Flame. And this program is brought to you by Purple Turtle Roofing. We appreciate Purple Turtle Roofing for sponsoring the program. At Purple Turtle Roofing, we're not just another contractor. We're your neighbor and your advocate when it comes to protecting your home or business. With years of hands-on experience, top-tier certifications, and a commitment to excellence, we've built a reputation as Alabama's go-to roofing solution. We specialize in residential roofing, commercial roofing, emergency storm repairs, full-on roof replacements, insurance claims support, and more. Visit them online today at roofturtle.com. You can call them at 877-PT-ROOF-5. That's 877-787-6635. They'll come out, give you a free roof inspection, let you know if you've got any problems, if you've got any screws loose, if you've got any shingles that are damaged. Whether you have a metal roof or a shingle roof, it doesn't matter. Purple Turtle Roofing can give you the peace of mind that you deserve. The spring storm season is coming up, so make sure you visit Purple Turtle Roofing at roofturtle.com for all their products and services. Roofing with heart, built to last. Purple Turtle Roofing. All right, let's finish this bad boy up with everything, with the topic that everybody's all interested in, and that's Alabama football. Katie Windham, Alabama football opening spring practice on Sunday. Getting going, and a little bit of breaking news. Well, 2 pieces of news. You have brand new jersey numbers. Hunter Sivers already tweeted it out. Ryan Williams is changing his jersey number to number 1, and Ryan Williams is now going to be going by Ryan Coleman Williams, honoring his mother. Yanzi Pierre, we already knew, was going to number 1. You can see all the new numbers under Hunter Sivers' Twitter. Rico Scott going to number 7. Okay, I got to know. Oh, my man, number 11, worn by Xavier Griffin. 11 is my favorite number, Katie. So I always want to know who's wearing number 11. You can find that at Hunter DeCiver on the Twitter machine. And the second, more newsy part, Katie, is according to some reporters, London Simmons, Will Sanders, and Danny Lewis Jr. will all be out for the spring, undergoing cleanup situations and recovery situations, won't be fully participating in the spring. Just kind of, what do you look? Everybody's going to be looking at quarterback, Keelan Russell, Austin Mack. I guess that begins on Sunday. Where do you stand on that, and what are your big other concerns or questions for spring?
Yeah, I think the quarterback battle is obviously going to dominate the headlines this spring. I think they're going to start out with it being Austin Mack because he's just been in the system for so long. He's been with DeBoer and Grubb. He has a long history with them. He's the older guy. He has a little bit more experience, not a ton more than Keelan, but a little bit more on the field, definitely more in the system. So I think it's going to start out being him. We'll see what it is by the end of spring. We'll see what it is in fall camp. I don't expect them to name it at the end of spring. But the other big thing I'm looking at is really offensive line, because you've brought in so many players from the portal. You're basically replacing almost the entire offensive line outside of Michael Carroll. And then even like we don't really know, will he still be right tackle? Will he move to left tackle? Will he move somewhere else? And then you have a new offensive line coach. So, and then the offensive line has kind of been the crux of the issues. have not been able to run the ball the last 2 years. It's really been last year, especially, was abysmal. And so a lot of that starts up front. Is the offensive line going to be good enough to protect whoever this new quarterback is going to be? Are they going to be good enough to be able to run the ball to balance the offense for whoever the new quarterback is going to be? So I think that's going to be a big thing we're all going to be looking at whatever limited practice viewing we get, is quickly writing down what number, who's out there on the first team offensive line, which, man, these guys changing their numbers every year. I'm going to have the sheet right in front of me basically throughout all spring. There's no way I'm going to have memorized who all these, especially there's so many new faces in general. And then when the guys we do know change their numbers, it just makes it even harder.
You know, I built last year as I was trying to learn the team, I built a Quizlet with the names and the numbers. So maybe I'll update it this year and then I can share with the Bama Central staff.
Names, numbers, and place of birth or former school.
Former
you gotta have with the transfer portal. Oh my goodness. One thing standing out to me as I'm looking at all these new numbers, I don't like EJ Crowell wearing 13. I know that's doesn't matter at all. These numbers don't matter at all. But just from an aesthetic standpoint, I don't know about it's 5-star running back wearing 13 doesn't excite me very much. Maybe there's got to be some significance to 13. Wasn't he 3 at Jackson?
I feel like right. 3 sounds right.
Okay, so maybe he wants the closest
Brooks
thing.
Would have had first rights to number 3.
Sure.
He's moving to number 3. I guess my biggest question on all this is just how many people are going to buy the Coleman Williams number 1 jersey, and what happens to the people who had the number 2 jersey?
Yeah, just from like a NIL.
She's exactly right. She'll get jumped, but she's about to say Ryan Williams is doubling up his NIL because everybody that has number 2 Williams jersey
has to buy the number 1.
They don't have to, but they're probably going to.
Katie just hopped off the show to go buy it before they sold out. Is what I'm hearing.
That's exactly
pretty wild. It's changing.
Nope, I think we got to boot her again. I've been having to just boot her out, and she's been coming right back in. So that's okay. Theo, these injuries that are kind of announced: William Sanders, Danny Lewis, London Simmons. This is the start of no spring scrimmage. I mean, you're not there yet. You're not there yet. But if you go more defensive linemen get injured, more tight ends get injured. This is just the start of that.
I'm surprised that it's only 3. I think you're in a good place right now.
You are.
Like, I get
but those are now the position groups to monitor.
I find it hard to believe that injuries are going to be the reason that we don't get a game. I don't think that will be the case.
He told Kalen DeBoer told Alex Scarborough 24/7 that they were leaning towards having a scrimmage, but have to make sure that it makes sense.
Okay, like I think you'd have to have a lot happen on the injury front. Like I think it would really have to
like every tight end on the roster being hurt, like last year.
Well, last year I don't know. You
have 105 people on the roster now. You have enough people to put something together. You should. Now, will they? Who knows?
Katie, did you jumped out to go get your new Coleman Williams jersey?
Well, I just think it's interesting because he didn't have the sophomore season on the field that he wanted, obviously, but he is one of the most marketable players in college football. Was on the cover of NCAA. So that's pretty interesting to me from a marketing perspective that he's going to change his name and what he's been known by and what he's gone by to switch it up. I don't know if that's a good marketing move because you can in a way double up on merch, or if it's a bad one because you've been known as this name, So that's kind of a mouthful, Ryan Coleman Williams.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to hear from him whether he wants to be. I guess he does want to be called Coleman Williams because he's slapping it on the back of his jersey. So I guess you wouldn't do that unless you wanted to be known that way, especially considering how much attention he's getting. So it's going to be a really fun spring ahead. We will get a practice viewing next Thursday is what I saw on the schedule. So next Thursday's program is going to be a little bit delayed or different. We'll figure out what we want to do right there. But we will have a practice viewing next Thursday. Katie, I believe that with the quarterback situation, you're right. I think Austin Mack will get the first crack with the ones, but I think that what they're going to do is keep things so rotated with Austin Mack and Keelan Russell that you could talk to player A or B or C, and all three of them would be, well, I think Austin got more reps with the one. I think Keelan got more reps with the one, because they're not keeping up with it because they're practicing their own position group, right? And so at the end of spring practice, nobody's going, well, we're still evaluating. We're still figuring it out.
Obviously, they're not even going to say that, oh, we think this. They're just going to say, oh, we like both of them. They've both done a great job. That's all they're going to say to us all spring when we ask about the quarterbacks.
And Jet Tamala and Taden Kawa are also going to do a great job too. Oh, we love them. They're doing great, developing in the system. Katie, where's the biggest area of improvement that Alabama football needs to improve outside of the offensive line?
Is it like two in the same vein to say the running game? Like I think you've got to, and Kalen said that I think in one of his interviews this week, is like that wasn't acceptable. Like Tony was doing a story the other day looking at the running game or offensive line, and I can't remember the exact number now, but Alabama finished in the like 100s in rushing yards per game. Alabama football should never be in the bottom like third
70.
They should really minimum be 70 in rushing. And like you can have some pass happy offenses, but the fact that like you could not run the ball really at all against power 4 competition is just it made it tough to watch it, because you knew like they're going to try and run it right here. It's not going to get more than 2 yards. And it's like that just shouldn't be the case. And so I think especially when breaking in a new quarterback, you've got to be able to run the ball a little bit better. That's like pretty captain obvious, but it's true.
So going to the running game struggles, we haven't talked about the combine all week. And I was confused with Jam Miller's 4.41, 4.42, 4.43, whatever, right in that fast range that he put up in the combine. Now, obviously, he dealt with injuries all season long. What do you make of Jam's combine time? And then really spin forward. We're still talking about Alabama football, not NFL. The running back room as it stands right now. You got AK, you've got EJ Crowell, kind of your top. Kevin Riley's coming back. Daniel Hill's coming back. So a lot of bodies in the running back room. How do you think those guys can? Do you think there's some special sauce in that group that can make the running back room go?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know necessarily enough about X's and O's to be able to tell you what didn't work for those guys last year. But I mean, for all of them, we saw flashes of good things. Like there was times where we were all writing Daniel Hill stories. We were all writing Kevin Riley stories about, oh, this guy's starting to break through in the offense. He's climbing up the depth chart. And then the next game would have 17 rushing yards or whatever. So I think obviously, I mean, if they were recruited to Alabama, they have talent. We saw flashes of that, and maybe with some different coaches, a different offensive line, and just another offseason in the weight room, things will get better. But then, like you said, yeah, we saw this speed from Jam at the combine. But I think just because you have speed doesn't necessarily mean you have vision, and I think or that you have holes to run through. So yeah, it is a little tough to grapple with. He performed so well there, and then just didn't necessarily have the best senior season here, which he seemed like a great kid whenever we've talked to him. So I wish him the best in the NFL, and hopefully he finds the right fit or the right team's able to grab him and he's able to thrive in that offense. But yeah, I think Alabama has some good pieces. I think it'll be interesting to see how much Crowell gets play as a freshman because we've obviously all seen in Alabama history some freshman running backs have some big years. Will that happen again this year? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I'm sure that's the thing about when we go to this practice viewing next Thursday, we're all going to write our practice reports, but I really don't know how much the rotations are going to show us about what the true depth chart is. Because these very first spring practices, it's literally the first time these new enrollees have actually practiced with the team. Well, I guess some of them practiced back in during the bowl practice, but with the current roster as it is, with all these portal guys, I think the returners are going to be first in line at all their, drills and stuff. So, like, I don't know if this first week of practice is really going to tell us that much, but we'll still tell y'all what we saw. I don't know how much it's really going to tell us, but like, I would expect that, like, Daniel Hill will be leading the running back drills when we're there on Thursday, but, like, will it be that way in fall camp? I don't know.
Well, kind of on that vein with the depth chart, throughout this whole spring period, when we walk out of Bryant-Denny after the 8A game or after whatever 8A is, will we be any closer to knowing who the starting quarterback will be this season?
If they do like an actual 8A scrimmage, I think just by watching we'll be a little closer to know how many reps. I bet they would probably split the two guys with the first team, but people will definitely rush to judgments if they do any sort of scrimmage we can actually see. But I don't think they will have announced at the end of spring. And I if we don't get any sort of scrimmage that's open to the public, I don't think we're really going to have any sort of great knowledge of who it's going to be. If we do get to see 8A, I think that'll obviously help a lot.
She's Katie Windham, and you follow her at Katie Windham _ on the Twitter machine, lead writer for BamaCentral.com, covering literally every athletics program under the sun at the capstone. We appreciate your time today, Katie. Thanks so much for hanging out with us.
Yeah, thanks, guys. And sorry for the technical difficulties. At least I warned y'all, and it wasn't completely out of left field.
Yeah, we got you back every time, and we were able to pivot.
Yeah. Thea backed me up.
That's exactly right. We're going to get out of here for the day. We got a big weekend on tap. Alabama softball doubleheader today. Alabama women's basketball at 7:30 tonight. Baseball, Theo, y'all are playing some baseball this weekend, right?
North Florida, final non-conference of the season.
All right, so make sure you're following Theo Fernandez at Theo Fernandez on _ on the Twitter machine. And we're going to have a huge weekend on BamaCentral.com full of coverage of all the sports going on at the Capstone. We'll be in Colby Coliseum tomorrow. Oh, you want to real quick predict Alabama, Auburn? Auburn.
Yeah,
Ken Pom has Alabama at 93-84. And you know what? I'll just copy paste. I'll take Ken Pom's score, copy paste.
Wait, what was this?
93-84 Alabama.
93-84. Yeah, I mean, I think Alabama wins this game. And I think that, look, Auburn, you can see the world where Auburn goes out and, man, come on, Stephen Pearl's got us fired up. We need to win this game to make it to the tournament. And all of a sudden, Auburn is playing up to the level that they could have. I think the far more likely case is everyone's written us off. Everything's dead. The season is over. I think Alabama could go out and win this game by 20 points. I am very low on this Auburn team. I think they have effectively given up on this year, and I don't think that Pearl is able to get these guys ready for this game and competing at the level that they need to. Give me Alabama 91-72.
Wow. Katie Windham, leave us real quick with an Iron Bowl prediction.
I was going to say 97-82 Alabama.
There we go. So three of us all on Alabama. So we'll be in the Coleman Coliseum tomorrow night at 7:30. We'll talk to you on Monday. Win, lose, or draw. Goodness gracious, it's going to be so much to get into on Monday. Selection Sunday is Sunday. Goodness,
we'll be a week away.
Oh, one more. Yeah, goodness, my calendar is all screwed up right now. Next Monday. But it will be a big Monday. We'll talk about the game, Alabama Auburn. We'll talk about everything that happened over the weekend at the Capstone, and we'll do it right here on the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central, BamaCentral.com.
Thanks for joining us on today's edition of the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. Keep up with Joe on all his social media pages at Joe Gaither6. Subscribe, rate, and review the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and be sure to read us daily at BamaCentral.com.